All right. So, good evening, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me loud and clear. So, I would like to thank all of you, first thing first, for joining our first ever Act for Health collaboration webinar series of the year, starting with our first collaborator, Delta Mediscience. My name is Sobi, and I'm a research assistant here at Act for Health. Together with me today is my colleague Fazlin. So I will be the MC for today, and she will be the technical person. Yeah. So before we go any further, I would like to share my slides first. Yeah, I hope everyone can see the slides lah. All right. So I want to like revise our usual housekeeping rules first, yeah. So it's pretty much the same. Keep yourself muted. Turning on your camera is optional, but if you have a bad unstable connection, you can just keep it off, and then you can send a message in the white box over here. And we also appreciate if you can click on the raise hand button first before you unmute and speak to us. And I would also like to inform that we are recording this webinar session, and this recording will be shared with everyone later on. Yeah. All right. So here's our tentative for today. We're going to jump right in with our webinar topic, but let me introduce our speaker for today, Mr. Wilson To. Right. So he's a psychologist graduated from the University of Victoria in Canada. He currently practices QEEG and licensed practitioner ISF neurofeedback in Malaysia and Singapore. He has treated clients with multiple disorders, as you can see in the slide here, autism, ADHD, ADD, and many more. And until today, Mr. Wilson is the only one to combine photobiomodulation, pulse electromagnetic frequencies, Thai massage, and neurofeedback to treat all of his clients. So without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Wilson to start. On to you, sir.
Oops. Yeah. Hello. Hi. 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 Can you hear me now?
Yes. All clear.
Okay. Sorry. I was talking and my mic was off. So this is part of getting older, and that's the topic of the day. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Wilson. I'm a psychologist from Singapore. I created Think Fast. I've done a lot of neurofeedback brain scans with QEEG for the last just over 15 years. And for those of you who do not know what neurofeedback is, there are other sessions, other ways that I can show you even after this. But for today, we are looking into how light can actually improve your memory. And I understand the group today mostly are above 50, or in fact, even if you are above 40 and you find yourself a little bit forgetful, you're in the right place. And if any one of you have had the COVID vaccine or the COVID and have experienced brain fog, you are also in the right place, because memory is memory. It doesn't matter whether you are over 50 and whether you have dementia or not. Okay, so let's begin. So my motto is basically every brain has a second chance, because with technology today, with light and sound, you can improve your memory, your focus. And I have actually activated a speech for people who have lost their speech, kids with autism. Uh, when you have stroke, it's also uh, an electrical activity thing after you have been discharged from the hospital and you lost your mobility or speech. Okay, so let's begin right now. Let's begin with the next slide. Okay, so the every one of us have electricity in our body. We all have current in our body. Ever probably since the day we were born, once in a while, we've actually accidentally touched something or even touch the corner of a laptop, touch the corner of an appliance, and we get a little buzz in our fingers, right? So that's because our body is a good conductor of electricity. That's why when we say if there's anything that's wet, do not touch it. If there's electricity. Now, if you go into the realm of engineering, so in the School of Engineering, you probably be taught or that the Earth has a frequency. The Earth's frequency is 7.83 hertz. That in my field, okay, of a neurofeedback, in my field of brainwave current, it's at the 7.83 hertz is actually alpha. Alpha is the frequency that helps you focus in everything that you do. Okay, so the brain is directly influenced by frequencies and even the clothes that you wear. And sometimes when we wear clothes which is like, for example, cotton, and cotton has about 100 megahertz, and acrylic and polyester has 10 hertz. So when we go to the gym and, for example, you wear acrylic and polyesters, basically it absorbs all your energy. All right. And of course, if we do a little bit of Googling, you would see that people now, many people, companies, they're promoting agar wood, they're promoting uh, walks into the forest. And the only reason is because if the forest, and you are lucky in Malaysia because the forests have natural hertz, and if the ground is not contaminated, you just take off your slippers and put your feet on the ground, and you are actually uh, uh, enjoying all the Earth's natural frequencies. Okay, because do not have very much time, I will just briefly show you why frequencies, why light helps you to bring back your memory. Okay, and if someone tells you that memory dementia and even loss of memory cannot be improved, that is wrong. Okay, that is totally wrong, and I'll show you why today. Next slide, please. Okay, in the world of neuroscience, I'm a psychologist, but in the world of neuroscience, and you have new studies, new faculties like neuropsychology. In the world of neuroscience and the neurologists, and this old saying that neurons that fire together wire together. This video clip here, you would be looking at the neurons, and these neurons here, then you look at them firing, and basically what they are doing is they are actually trying to connect with each other. So when they stop firing, when do they stop firing? They stop firing when you have no power in your body, in your brain. And as we grow older, your 2 billion brain cells, you are born with all this power, and as you grow older, they deplete. Okay, so as they deplete, they stop firing. As they stop firing, and depending on where they stop firing, or where the neurons, where the ATPs stop deplete, that's where you would have that problem. Okay, and we will go to the next slide now. So in the field of neurofeedback, as you can see here, these young ladies are wearing caps. How do I measure? And when you go to the hospital, and for example, if somebody has a stroke, and what they do is that they measure, they will give you MRI test, and they give you an EEG test. Now, in the world of neurofeedback, we call this a QEEG. The QEEG is different from a EEG, whereby, for example, if your temporal on your left, and it shows that there's irregularity and it's been hurt, and the MRI shows that there's no more bleeding and you're discharged, but the electrical activity in the EEG shows that it is okay, but you are discharged without speech, and if you are discharged and yet you have lost the function of your left side, or your memory is not as good as what it was before, it is only because the electrical activity, the neurons from the earlier slides, they have stopped firing, or if they are firing, but they are not well synchronized. Okay, and in this cap here, we actually measure a mathematical algorithm is calculated to measure the connectivity between all the scalp sites. The scalp sites, as you can see in the picture, from one point to all the other points. And for example, if you measure the Broca's area from your temporal to your frontal here, and and even if the temporal, that the electrical activity is okay and your frontal is okay, but when they are connected and they're not synchronized, and that's why you don't have speech. And when we reconnect both points, we synchronize them, and that's when we activate speech again, right? And as we grow older, and the frontal part here, and if the neurons are all, they stop to fire, and that's how you start to become forgetful. Your working memory is becoming worse, and your short-term memory is becoming worse. Okay, and this is what we do in if you have a memory loss. We measure you, and this is a QEEG. It's been used quite quite a lot these days around the world. All right. Okay. Next slide, please. Now, in the world of neurofeedback and frequencies, so the brain, whether you're awake or asleep, has all these frequencies that you see in front of you, and the Earth has 7.83 hertz, and that is your focus. And sometimes they say it's 8 hertz, this is your focus, or 6.5 hertz. So it's around there, yeah. And from this, when we do a measurement for someone who has autism, who has dementia, we look at the hertz. We look at where the frequencies are. If the frequencies, for example, we say in the delta, which in the red side here, the delta 1 to 4 hertz, delta is basically your deep sleep, okay? And optimal is between 1 to 4 hertz. That means it goes up and down 1 to 4 times per second in the EEG. Or in terms of the light, it flickers 1 to 4 times per second. And in the theta wave is basically your calmness, the ability to stay calmness. If your theta wave is at this point very calm, very good, so you'll be in the range of 4 to 7 hertz. If your theta wave is gone beyond that, then we know that your hertz would not be that optimal. Okay. Sorry. And for seniors, what is important in the delta wave is basically, if you are not able to keep within optimal frequency, then your sleep would have been disrupted. You would have insomnia. Either you cannot stay asleep or go to sleep. Okay. And if you try to get better sleep, and a prostate specialist would probably tell you, try not to drink so much water in the night. And if you have removed that, and you would realize that, hey, if I still cannot sleep, then it's your frequency. Okay. And for alpha wave is basically the ability to stay focused. So if your range is not between 8 to 13 hertz, then probably your focus or your short-term memory is not very good. Next comes your beta imbalance. If the beta wave, which is a very wide range, so it would be divided into low beta, beta, high beta. This is your alert wave. And this alert wave basically takes over when you're awake. And for today's talk, we are looking at the gamma wave, which is 40 hertz. So 40 hertz, there are many research. If you Google 40 hertz photobiomodulation, and you would see when your memory is not as good as before, and when we do a scan, I'm able to see where you are. Now, for those and people who have lost their memory, what we have done is that we have used photobiomodulation. We've put the helmet on, and which I'll explain what photobiomodulation is in a while, and we treat them with 40 hertz, and that's what happens, and then the memory comes back. And even people with Parkinson's, when we shine the light into the cerebellum, which is the back of the brain, the little which actually has the 80% of all your neurons there. And when we put the energy in there, the mitochondria, we increase it and we pulse it 40 times per second. People with Parkinson's improve. Okay. And of course, when I combine it with the infraslow fluctuation frequencies, neurofeedback, basically we synchronize it. So once we synchronize it, your brain can become a lot better. Next slide, please. Okay. So once again, shining the light and the frequencies into the brain. It is not a matter of shining everywhere because you are already walking in the sunlight every day and you have sunlight, and the sunlight helps the plants. But unfortunately, that sunlight helps us, but it doesn't help us enough to improve our memory. Okay. So when we want to shine the light, as you can see here, what we call the default mode network. The default mode network essentially is like a triangle on your scalp. Okay. Basically is the frontal lobe and 3 points here around the parietal lobe. And when they are lighted up together and pulse at 40 hertz, that's how we improve memory. Okay. And subsequent to that, we can further improve it with infraslow fluctuation neurofeedback, which is created by Mr. Mark Smith in New York. And what you see here, FP1, FP2, these are basically where we put our electrodes and we read the brain waves and we train the brain waves back into optimal frequencies. Yeah. And one thing about memory is that since the topic is 50 plus, for people with over 50 years old or around 50 years old, and women going through their menstrual cycle, this is also by research, you would see that women who are going through menopause actually are getting angry faster, their mood changes, and it actually affects their memory as well. Okay, next slide, please. Now, this is a scan of a QEEG scan report. QEEG scan has been the thousands and thousands and thousands. If you just Google QEEG scans, and the people who say, "Oh no, this is all graphical." Now, if you dig deeper, you would see that and understand the difference between a QEEG and an EEG. Okay, the EEG is good, but a QEEG can explain more. Okay, and as you can see, these are all the scans that I've done, whether it's for the top left-hand one, that was done by Microsoft. Microsoft also is now coming into our world of neurofeedback, and Microsoft is what they did was actually they scan people who are in top management, and what they have found is that when you have too many meetings in a day, basically you just fired a lot of your neurons up, and you have overfired them and overstressed them up to a point. In graphically, it becomes like from yellow to orange to red, and so the brain gets tight, you get tired, and you get sleepy, and you get forgetful, and suddenly you cannot solve your solutions, solve your problems. Now, and lower there you can see some scans in blue. Probably sometimes when we are these are the scans of people in flight, from the flight cabin that I've scanned, and basically during the COVID, many were on medication, and what happened is that they became forgetful, they became schizophrenic, they have anxiety, they have and became suicidal actually. And these are just a sample of what happens, sample of the summary report during the QEEG. Yeah, and we can go to the next slide. Yeah, okay, these are the scan done by Delta Mediscience, the staff of Delta Mediscience, and they would send the data to me to analyze. And here you see that these are scans of working people. who are entrepreneurs, who are students, and even one who's actually a yoga instructor. She basically is just a yoga instructors of yoga instructors. Okay, so even a yoga instructor, when you when they meditate, somehow it is insufficient when you meditate. It takes you to a certain level, but it doesn't quite get you there yet. And the top left hand, to impress upon you, is that if you have lost your ability to smell olfactory, the brain will detect it. The brain is a fantastic part of the body that actually detects whatever happens to you, whether it's your mobility, your visual processing, your short-term memory, uh, oppositional behaviors. It detects a lot. Okay, although this is not a medical diagnosis, yeah, it's not a medical, but what we are looking is that the possible symptoms of defect, the possible symptoms of defect. Okay, and quite often we are not wrong. Okay, next. Okay, so now that we have detected which area of the brain has too much power, which you saw earlier on, what we call hyperactivity, or too little power, which is hypoactivity. Now, how do we treat that? And when we go for therapy, therapy is something that you must go for as often as possible. As like when you go to a gym, you must go often as possible. And when you're in a country with so huge land, and to travel through the traffic and all that, it stops you, or discourages you from going for therapy 4 or 5 times a week. And it also stops you because maybe you're not feeling well, or because of the simply because the cost of the therapy itself. Okay, and now what we have in photobiomodulation, which has 3,000 publications for different kinds of treatment. Long time ago, it was called red light therapy. So what the Americans have done is that they, for the red light therapy, they have actually uh, given an umbrella name called photo, meaning light, bio, and modulation to change. Okay, so what you see here is that uh, Andre Master actually came up with, created, was the father of this red light therapy. And he realized that when you shine a certain spectrum of light into the skull, and even some engineers didn't know about it, who actually disagreed with me until they started reading more, that when you shine a certain spectrum of light, for example, 650 nanometers, which is, when you say 650 nanometers, is basically how deep can it penetrate. So what we are using is 810 nanometers, so it penetrated deeper. And we can even use a 1070, 1050 nanometers to go even deeper. However, the studies have also shown that the optimal wavelength would be 810 nanometers. So light can penetrate through your skull about 4 to 5 centimeters. Okay, and to believe that, I'm sure many of us, when we were younger, we've played with torchlights, and we put a torchlight and shine it to our fingers, and you see the light appearing on the other side. Okay, so but when you use 810 nanometers of light, it shines right through. Okay, the next slide, please. Okay, at this point in time, when you read up into dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, COVID brain, long COVID, alcohol, medication. So as we grow older, the most important thing is not focus. The most important thing is not getting angry or control anger. The most important thing is memory. If you have lost your memory, you have lost everything. Everything. Okay. But if you have lost your focus, you still have your memory, right? But if you lost memory, you lost everything. And so what do we do every time when we go out, we just say, oh, let's go out, let's get sunlight. Now, going out in the sun is good because plants need sunlight too. So it helps us. Okay, it basically wakes the brain up. And however, the light from the sun comes with a lot of heat, comes with a lot of ultraviolet. So that's not what we want. We get the good and the bad. Basically, the in general, light increases the power and increases your mitochondria, your ATP in your cells. We charge our mobile phones every day, but we never charge our brain. We charge our car batteries, we charge our EV cars, but we never charge our brain. Okay, so as we grow older, the mitochondria in our brain, our body, our neck, and we go for even massages to improve the blood flow. Now, if we charge the light in our brain, what happens is that we increase the mitochondria. So if we have helped to increase the mitochondria in the frontal lobe, we have actually improved short-term memory, okay, working memory. And we pulse it at say 7 hertz per second. What have we done? We have actually helped to improve the focus. So if you combine the both of them together, basically you just improve your short-term memory, your focus, and in such a way, basically you won't have dementia, Alzheimer's, and as far as Parkinson's is concerned, we are talking about the cerebellum. Okay, so we charge the cerebellum, and we stabilize our mobility. Yeah. Next slide, please. Right. So, as I was mentioning, therapy is something that we have to do as often as possible. It doesn't matter what kind of therapy. If you don't go for enough therapy, then it's a waste of time. And therapy takes time. So, what happens with photobiomodulation is that we've created something, a device that you can use at home, from home, shareable by the whole family. Okay, so this is what we call a photobiomodulation helmet. So basically, as you can see, the back of the helmet, it covers right down to the cerebellum, and you can wrap it around the vagal area so that you improve the blood flow. And the helmet that's on top, basically, it covers your whole scalp. It must cover the whole scalp. It cannot just say cover the frontal, not the parietal, cover the parietal and not the frontal. It must cover together. Okay, and when you do that and you pulse different areas at a time with correct frequencies in different areas, for example, the frontal, you would say 7 hertz, and you have improved you would have improved focus. And if you have insomnia, let's pulse it down to 4 hertz. Okay, the light goes right through, pulse it at 4 hertz, it helps you to go to sleep. And if you're talking about autism coming down, then fine. Let's pulse the right temporal, the right parietal, and we calm them down. These are the areas in the neurofeedback protocol that we train for deep calming of a person with autism. Yeah, and there are many protocols that we use, and I will leave that for another day because it's just too much for today. Next slide, please. Yes. So, how have we made it easier? Understand that photobiomodulation already has over 3,000 studies, and lots of them are appearing all over the world today. And there's a very huge interest, whether it's Australia, New Zealand, US, Canada, or Europe. Photobiomodulation is the fastest way to improve memory. And the technology of light penetrating the scalp, from the engineering point of view, they call it photonics. And you speak to the engineering department, they would be able to explain more on that to you, right? And so what has happened is that what I've done is that I've created a preset. So when you use a photobiomodulation device like a ThinkPass, and you see in this mode, it says improve sleep. Okay, as easy as when you press the button, improve sleep, it tells the frontal part of it lights up the frontal part at 4 hertz, the temporal at 4 hertz, and then when the light penetrates 4 to 5 cm through the scalp, it starts to blink, pulse at 4 times a second. When it does that, it tells the brain waves